Hey guys, it's Damar and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be telling you all the books that I read in February and also my March TBR, and I'm combining these two together because I feel like I talk too fast and my videos are kind of short because when I get super excited I love to really talk. So I wanted to combine them together and I'm going to be telling you everything about them, how much I read it, the books that I read in February, and a little explanation about the books that I'm going to be reading for this month because it's already March. So yeah, let's get started. So I think I should start with the results or the data of what I read in February. So I read about 9 books and 3 of them were a DNF, and I'm gonna go through the DNFs first because I didn't read them, so I feel like it's just easier for me to tell you why I DNF'd them and why I'm not gonna read them. I feel so bad when I DNF books because I really want to read them, but in my brain it just wouldn't work. It didn't want to work, it didn't want to read it, and it's just how it is. But I'm gonna be telling you because one of them I feel like I want to go back to in the future, but right now wasn't the best time for me. Looking down with my notes because there's a lot going on in my head and I need to write it down always and forever. The first book that I DNF, it was 5 Survive by Holly Jackson, and it's about 5 friends go on a road trip from spring break and their van breaks down and there's like a sniper that wants to kill them, and it's like mystery. I thought I was gonna love it, I really did, but then when I went to read the book it was in third point of view, and if you don't know me, I hate reading third point of view. My brain can't really like connect to the characters. I just don't really like it. I don't enjoy it. My brain is very hard to it was very hard to grasp to information, and I didn't know who was talking, and it was a lot for my brain. So usually I tend to stay away from third point of view because I just really can't get into it. So I DNF this one for that reason. I have nothing against Holly Jackson because I love The Good Guy's Guide to Murder, and it's really good, but I just can't read third point of view. So that is why I DNF that one. The second book I DNF is Picking Daisies on Sundays by Liana Cincotti. And I'm gonna be so honest with you, I really like the story. It wasn't what I was looking for at that moment in February. Like, I put a lot of books in the TBR jar that was like romance and everything, and I think I was getting kind of fed up and I wanted to read something different. And the book is really good. It's best friends to lovers, something happened, they didn't talk to each other for years, and it's like a second chance romance. And honestly, I usually always love those. So this is a soft DNF, and I really want to go back to it in the future because honestly it was a good book, and I got really far. I got like 10 chapters in, but that wasn't what I was looking for, so that's why I DNF'd it. But I really want to go back to it because honestly that's my favorite trope and I love reading it, but for that moment I didn't really want to. And the third book that I DNF'd is 7 Year Slip by Ashley Poston, and this one is a little controversial because I feel like everybody liked the book and I really wanted to like the book, but I was kind of confused about the time jumps and what was going on. I wasn't really interested. In my thing that I told myself for this year, it was gonna be that if I'm really like a few chapters into the book and I'm not really interested and it doesn't catch me off in the first moment, I'm not gonna read it because I really want to get to books on my TBR that I really want to read and that makes me happy and stuff like that. So honestly, this book just wasn't it for me, and that's my opinion, so I don't want you to attack me for anything, but I just wasn't interested. It was kind of boring for me, so I had to DNF it. I am so sorry. But yeah, let's get into the books that I did read in February. The first book that I read in February is Wildcat by Rebecca Jenshak, and it's in the Wildcat hockey series, and this book follows Leo and Scarlett. It's a hockey romance, NHL, like full-on deal. You know how I love my hockey romance. It's a one-night stand, and he finds out she is his coach's daughter, which I love. So it's like a forbidden romance, and there's like sneaking around so the coach won't find out that his daughter is hooking up with his player. And honestly, this book was really good. I rated it 4-star. I really enjoyed it. You know, I love a good hockey romance, and I feel like I always give it 4.5, never 5. It has to be like amazing for me. I feel like 5 stars for me are like revolutionary. It's like I will always go back to think of them. So this book was really good. I really enjoyed it, and I totally recommend for you guys to read this series and check it out. The next book that I read is If He Had Been With Me, because I'll get into it. The second one came out this month, the month of February, and I wanted to get into this one so I can read the other one. So obviously this follows Finn and Autumn, their childhood best friends, and it's just like, it's always been you. Like, there's so much going on with their story. They stop talking to each other, and it's just like a friends to lovers to strangers to something happens. You guys kind of know what this book is about. It was all over TikTok, so of course I had to read it, and I gave it a 5-star because it was so good. The first time that it was a reread for me because I read it when it came out, and the first time I read it didn't really hit as much, but this time I was really crying. Like, I literally annotated everything. It was really good, so I gave it a 5-star. And of course that follows the next book that I read in February, which is If Only I Had Told Her. And it follows the same story after it happened, the really bad thing that happened. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't read the book. So the big thing happened, and they go into 3 different point of views of Finny, Autumn, and their friend Jack. I'm gonna be so honest with you, I rated this book at 3.75 because some parts, like the first parts, were really good, but then it was heading nowhere for me. It kind of fell flat. It was very boring. I didn't really enjoy it. I enjoyed the first like chapters of somebody's point of view. Like, I loved Finny's point of view and Jack's a little bit in the beginning, but it was kind of boring for me. It was like, whatever. I would definitely like recommend reading it, because if you read this book, you want to jump in to know and get closure. But honestly, I felt closure the first like 3-5 chapters of this book, and the rest it was kind of just like, okay, whatever. So I really don't know what to say about that. Next book that I read is Before We Were Strangers. It's by Renee Carlino, and this follows Matt and Grace and their college best friends to lovers, but then something happened. They don't talk to each other for 15 years. It has a lot of unexpected plot twists. It was insane, and if you guys have seen my video of how much I read in a week, I talked everything about it, so you should definitely go check that video out because I went through so many emotions. I rated this book 4.75 because it wasn't necessarily a 5-star, because there was a lot of tropes that I didn't really like, but it was a really good book. I literally was crying. I was going through so many emotions, and I really enjoy it, and I feel like you can definitely read this book. And it was like trending like back in 2020, 2021. I don't remember when this book came out, but everybody was reading it, and I felt like it was the right time for me to read it. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. After that, I was kind of in a reading slump. Like, I didn't know what I was gonna read. I was kind of bored. I started getting into really deep down reading slump by the end of February, so I was kind of just pushing myself to read. But I went on TikTok, of course, and everybody was reading Butchered in Blackbird by Bryony Weaver, and everybody was talking about it. I'm like, I need to give it a shot. I think this book is gonna get me out of my reading slump. So this book follows Rowan and Sloan, and it's a dark romance, and they're serial killers to lovers. So they are serial killers that kill other serial killers, which is super weird, but I love books like that. I think it's just very fun and sarcastic and just funny. And it's a slow burn, and he falls first, like for the very first time, and I love it, and it's so good. I just had a very fun time. I think I read this book in like a day and a half. It was so good. It was definitely what I needed. I needed something different because I was reading like so many like, oh, I'm so in love with you, like everything, and I needed something different and darker, and it was just really good, and I definitely enjoyed it. I gave it a 4-star. So yeah, I think you should definitely read it. It was really good. And then I realized that I was falling into a little dark romance because I was bored of the happy, lovey things. So then I decided to pick up Praise by Sarah Kate, and it's in the Solacious Players Club, and this is the first book in the series, and it follows Charlie and Emerson. You should definitely search up the trigger warnings. I'm not going to talk too much about what this book follows because my parents watch these videos, and I'm so sorry. And it's ex-boyfriend's dad. That's all you need to know. But I rated this book a 3.5. I enjoyed it. It was very good to read, very educational, like 100%. So after reading that, I decided to read the second book because I was hitting a reading slump, and all these books are easy to read. They're like 300 pages. I can get them done in a day or two. So I read the second book, which is Eyes on Me, and it follows Mia and Garrett. Search up the trigger warnings. I'm not telling you. I really cannot, like, there's not much I can say about them. I hate I'm gonna say this, but it's a stepsister brother romance. They're stepbrothers. You know, that's it. That's all I'm saying. That's as simple as that. And I rated this book 3 stars. 3 stars. It was really good. I laughed. It was funny. It was enjoyment. I was laughing. I was giggling. What I needed at the time. So that's all I can say. Then after that, I decided to get back into Reminders of Him because I started reading this book after I read Before We're Strangers. I read a few chapters and that's kind of how it ended for me. So I picked this book up again and I read the whole thing. I tabbed it a lot. I feel like this time didn't hit as much as the first time I read it, because the first time I read it, I rated it 5 stars. Like, this book is still 5-star because it was so good. Story and everything is just very emotional, but honestly, like, my brain hasn't really wanted to cry or anything, but I still rated it 5 stars, and it's just really good. And if you guys don't know what this book is about, it follows Kenna and Ledger, and Kenna was released from prison for the death of her ex-boyfriend. She didn't really do it. I don't know how to explain it. So she goes back to her hometown because she had a daughter when she was at prison, but they took her away. So she goes back to the town where her daughter is. Why can't I talk? And she's starting to get money and like pick up herself back from prison because she wants to get her daughter back and meet her after not seeing her for a lot of years. So this book is just very heartfelt and it's just very emotional because you go back and forth of how she was feeling, and it's just like very sad and very emotional. I don't really know how to. She's going through grief, she's trying to move on, and then she meets Ledger and they hit it off, and it's just like a very good book, and is one of my favorite Colleen Hoover books. Honestly, to this day, it's my favorite one. So I definitely recommend, if you haven't, like, if you don't really like Colleen Hoover, I think this book is very good to read and super easy. It's 300 pages. You can get it done in a day. The last book I read in February is Wild About You by Rebecca Janschak, which is the second book in the Wildcat Hockey series, which is the first one I read in the month. And it follows Piper and Tyler, and it's hockey romance, NHL. Of course, you know, I love my hockey romance. And it's a second chance romance. They dated in high school, and then something happened. They broke up, and they don't see each other till 4 years later. Tyler has a teenage sister that he has to take care of because something happened, and then Piper comes in and she teaches Tyler's sister at school, and then he asked her to nanny his sister while he's away for hockey games and stuff, and that's how the story kind of picks up, and it's just really good. I literally read it all in one day. It was one of the best hockey romance books that I've read in a bit, because honestly I've been in such a reading slump, but I rated it 4.5. It was super good, and I feel like with hockey romance you can never go wrong. It's always something fun to read, and I think it's just like my favorite thing to read about, which is true. Like, I'm not saying anything but the truth. But those were all the books that I read in February. 9 books. I feel like that was a lot. Let's get into the March TBR. For my March TBR, I wanted to go a little laid back and do things I wanted to pick them because I'm so close to a reading slump that I don't want to make myself read something that I don't want to read. So it's gonna be good. There's gonna be some rereads that I want to read and books following to other series that I haven't finished. But so for my February TBR, I put Powerless by Lauren Roberts, and I never got into it because I started reading the first chapter and then I realized that I wasn't really in a fantasy reading mood and I didn't want to read it at that time. But I'm moving it for this month because I really want to read it. Like, everybody has loved it and I really want to get into it. So that is the first book that I am going to be having in my TBR for March. And The second book is Wild Ever After, which follows the Wildcat hockey series, which of course I've been reading in the month of February, but I want to finish the series. So this one, I have no idea who is this book about. I'm just going into them blindly. I have no idea who it's about. I'm very excited because I feel like it's hockey romance. It's gonna be easy, it's gonna be fun. I think I'm gonna rate it pretty well. The next book into that is the other book in that series, which is In Your Wildest Dreams. And of course, I hope it's really gonna be good because I like Rebecca's Jen Shack's writing. I think it's very easy to get into it, super fast, super quick, and I'll get it done probably in a day or two. And I think I'm trying to read as easy as I can because if not, I'm gonna go crazy. After that, those are like my 3 books that I want to get into. Then I have rereads that I have them with me. Like, actually, I have the books because I own these books for a while, which is the Off-Campus series by Al Kennedy. I have the original covers. Don't come for me. I have no money left. I can't spend it. I love the new covers. I really want them, but I want to reread this series because of course hockey, and I just miss these characters so much, so I want to get into them. So we have obviously The Deal, which follows Garrett and Hannah. It's my favorite. This is probably my favorite book ever. Like, no man was ever going to compare to Garrett, and I'm very excited for that. The next one is The Mistake, and it follows John, Logan, and Grace. And I think, if I remember correctly, this is a second chance, which of course is super short. I feel like all these books I can like in a day. This is The Score, and it follows Dean and Allie. So excited for this one because I think this one is the most spiciest and the most funny one. I love this series with my whole entire heart. Then The Goal. This is my least favorite out of the whole series, but it's still very good, and it follows Sabrina and Tucker, and it's a very good lawyer hockey romance thing. I just don't like one of the tropes in this book, and that's why it's never my favorite, but overall this whole book series is good. And the last one is The Legacy, which follows all the guys and the girls, like mini novellas for each one, all in one book. I don't remember anything that happens in this book because I feel like I read it so quickly that it was that, of course. So those are the books that I want to read in March, but there's one series that I want to read in the month of March, and I want to film it for YouTube, but I'm not going to hold myself up to it because there's a lot of books in that series and I don't know if I'm ready to get into them, but I want to put them in this list because who knows if I'll get to it to start filming for them or not. We'll see how that happens. But I want to read the Magnolia Parks Universe series, like really bad, by Jessa Hastings. I think that's how you say it. And everybody has been reading it. I feel like everybody's saying it's so toxic and good, and I really want to read it. So I want to film it for YouTube, a little like reading vlog, reading the whole series, and I'm hoping I really get to it this month because I have a lot of free time towards the end of March because it's my spring break for school, and I have like a week and a half off and I could just read all the time, and I feel like it could be really easy for me to do that. But those are all the books that I want to read in March. Let me count them. There's about 13 books I want to read in March, and I think it could be really easy because anything that I read on my phone I can finish in a day. The Off-Campus series, I'm in love with them. I could read those in a day. I'm a little concerned about Powerless because fantasy, it always takes me a little bit to get into because I'm not fully like into it yet, into that world. And I'm a little scared to read Magnolia Parks Universe, but I think overall it's a very good, diverse things to read. I have a lot of hockey though, and I'm very excited for that. I'm probably gonna start reading it today because today is March 1st, and I'm probably gonna post this video the same day or the next day. So I'm so sorry I'm filming this really late, but it happens. Life is heavy and hard right now, getting closer to graduating. So I am so sorry. And that's it for this video. I hope you liked it. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe, turn your bell on. My social medias are down below so you can follow me and see what I'm reading right now. And I can't wait to see you next time. Bye.